Lucasfilm can fix all Star Wars problems by taking a tip from Star Trek's Golden Age. Star Wars and Star Trek are often portrayed as rivals, but Lucasfilm need to learn key lessons from Star Trek's Golden Age. The last few years have seen Lucasfilm transform Star Wars into a bold transmedia franchise, but not everything has been successful. What's more, the latest reports suggest behind-the-scenes drama continues to plague the studio, even as Lucasfilm struggled to prioritize ramping up movies again at the same time as continuing their Disney Plus TV shows. If reports are accurate, there's currently no real sense of direction. To be fair, transmedia is difficult, and may well be even harder for Lucasfilm. It's worth remembering that when Disney purchased Lucasfilm back in 2012, there was no real development pipeline bar. George Lucas likes this idea. According to Bob Iger's autobiography, The Ride of a Lifetime, this is why Lucas didn't get the Pixar deal he coveted. Now Lucasfilm is trying to manage multiple work streams in many different formats. All that means the studio may be wise to look at others who have succeeded, including Star Trek's Golden Age. For this purpose, we'll define the 1990s as the Golden Age of Star Trek. This was a time when the franchise prospered in multiple mediums at the same time, and characters and events rippled on between movies and TV shows. This was the age of Star Trek, The Next Generation, Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek Voyager, 3 shows in the space of a decade, all of which left a lasting impact on the franchise's history and lore. There were 4 movies at the same time, with 3 featuring the TNG crew. It's an impressive era. How did Star Trek pull this off? A large part of the answer lies in the fact the franchise was shepherded by one, admittedly controversial figure, Rick Berman. Something of a protege to Gene Roddenberry, Berman held the reins tightly, but allowed others a good degree of leeway. My job includes monitoring the degree of bend, letting the shows and the films evolve, but keeping Gene's vision true to course, Berman famously explained, illustrating the careful balance he felt he had to strike. Under Berman's leadership, TNG was the first syndicated series nominated for an Emmy for Best Dramatic Series. Berman was far from perfect, and the quality of his work is generally seen as declining in later years. But his influence on Star Trek's Golden Age illustrates an important point about transmedia, that there needs to be a singular vision. It's a lesson Marvel Studios learned when creative conflict forced an entire corporate restructure, with Kevin Feige placed in charge and the Marvel Creative Committee disbanded. It's a lesson Lucasfilm is yet to learn. Right now, there are countless projects in the works, and the overall direction will be decided by which is made first. Take, for example, recent reports Daisy Ridley's Rey is returning in multiple movies, not just in Charmin Obaid-Chinoy's new Jedi Order film. The core problem is that the movie that comes out first will effectively define the era for Rey, and require dramatic rewrites or the complete abandoning of all other projects. That's no way to run a development pipeline, and a more singular vision, like Berman's, is required. Rey is considered Lucasfilm's biggest cinematic asset, and she can't be handled this way. In recent years, Star Wars has faced increasing criticism regarding its storytelling, particularly after the mixed reception of the sequel trilogy and various spin-offs. While Star Wars remains a beloved cultural phenomenon, some fans and critics argue that the franchise has lost its original charm and coherence, drifting away from the magic that made it iconic in the first place. As the creative forces behind the saga seek to recenter the narrative, they could learn a great deal by studying how Star Trek found its stride during its golden age. Drawing inspiration from Star Trek's model of world building, character development, and consistent themes could help Star Wars rejuvenate its appeal while expanding its universe in exciting ways. One of the hallmarks of Star Trek's Golden Age, particularly during the 1990s with series like The Next Generation, TNG, Deep Space Nine, DS9, and Voyager, was its focus on long-term storytelling while retaining the essence of episodic adventures. This allowed for both episodic escapism and deeper serialized plots that enriched the characters and explored larger, complex themes. This duality balanced accessibility for new viewers while rewarding longtime fans with lore that grew steadily over time. Star Wars can benefit from this approach by leaning into episodic, self-contained stories while maintaining a cohesive, overarching narrative. The galaxy far, far away is ripe for exploration beyond the Skywalker saga, and it doesn't always need to focus on high-stakes, universe-ending conflicts to remain compelling. Moreover, Star Trek shone during its golden era because of its commitment to diversity and representation. Each series included a wide array of characters from various species and cultures, exploring social and political themes that resonated with contemporary audiences. This exploration was done thoughtfully, tackling issues like racism, xenophobia, and the ethics of war in ways that didn't overshadow the core adventure. Star Wars has the potential to follow suit, using the vastness of its universe to tell stories that are inclusive and nuanced. Whether through exploring the lives of those outside the Jedi and Sith dichotomy, or examining the consequences of the ongoing power struggles between the Empire, the Rebellion, and other factions, the franchise can enrich its narrative by embracing the broader social implications of life in a galaxy full of diverse beings. Another key lesson from Star Trek's Golden Age is the development of its ensemble cast. In TNG, characters like Captain Picard, Data, Worf, and others were given arcs that spanned multiple seasons, allowing them to evolve in ways that felt natural and meaningful. Likewise, DS9 excelled in showing the long-term consequences of its characters' actions, making their struggles feel more personal and profound. Star Wars, particularly in its recent films, has sometimes struggled with character development. Protagonists like Rey and Finn had potential for significant growth, but many fans and critics felt that their arcs were underdeveloped or rushed. By adopting a more character-driven approach, Star Wars can better invest audiences in its heroes and villains, giving them room to evolve naturally over time. The franchise could also benefit from focusing on the complexities of its characters' choices, making the light and dark sides of the Force feel less binary and more philosophically rich. The serialized format that Star Trek embraced in the 1990s also allowed for detailed, slow-burning arcs that paid off in spectacular fashion. DS9, in particular, is noted for its exploration of the Dominion War, a storyline that built up over multiple seasons and was punctuated by smaller character-driven episodes. This long-term storytelling allowed viewers to get deeply invested in the stakes, both personal and galactic. In contrast, Star Wars sometimes sacrifices this potential by moving too quickly between grand conflicts, failing to give adequate weight to the consequences of its galactic wars. The Star Wars universe has the capacity to explore deep political intrigue, moral quandaries, and the gray areas of war over an extended period. Shows like Andor and The Mandalorian have hinted at this potential, but the larger cinematic universe could benefit from more serialized storytelling that rewards patient world building. Finally, one of Star Trek's most valuable lessons is its optimistic vision of the future. While Star Wars is inherently more of a space opera with dark undertones, there is still room for hope and idealism in its storytelling. During the sequel trilogy, the series often returned to the themes of endless war and conflict, but it lacked the hopeful optimism that has driven many of its fans for decades. By embracing hope as a guiding principle once again, without losing sight of the complexities of the galaxy, Star Wars can re-establish the sense of wonder and possibility that inspired so many fans in the first place. In conclusion, Lucasfilm can breathe new life into Star Wars by taking cues from Star Trek's Golden Age. Embracing diversity, deep character development, long-form storytelling, and a more nuanced exploration of its universe could transform the franchise into a richer, more vibrant saga. Just as Star Trek used the vastness,